The Smoking Mirror, Chapter 20. The world was assembling itself around them, but at the periphery of the gray, Johnny could sense a vast darkness in which enormous monsters seemed to writhe in a mass of serpentine coils, leathery wings, and endless hunger for destruction. Their attention coalesced momentarily, focusing on his awareness of them, but then he dropped into this world, stumbling across rocks on the sandy floor of a cave. His mother and sister emerged from the space between dimensions a split second later. After the initial disorientation, Johnny became aware of a deafening roar that filled the small space, not so much a cave as an alcove. Water was rushing in torrents across the entrance to the small space. Que fregados, he cried. I think we're at the Cola de Caballo, his mother shouted above the sound of the cascade. Horsetail Falls, in Cumbres National Park. She hugged them both excitedly and led them carefully through the rushing curtain of water. Down a rugged slope dotted with trees, the three of them made their way to the crowds of tourists visiting the famous waterfall. From there, it was relatively easy to grab a taxi and let the warm air dry them as the driver wove his expert way through traffic to Colonia Tecnológico. More difficult, however, was explaining to the police officers assigned to their missing persons case what had happened. Johnny was perversely proud of the lie his mother spun. She'd been kidnapped by Setas and Donna and taken across the border. The band's leader had gone missing, however, so the criminals had been awaiting further instructions for months. When they had finally sent their demands to her sister's apartment, the twins had intercepted the message and had foolishly gone off to rescue her, taking 50,000 of their aunt's pesos. The criminals had accepted the money and let them go. The police didn't exactly buy this story, but they had little choice other than to accept it. Andrea confirmed the missing money, and the twins corroborated every detail. Reporters swarmed the area, and Johnny almost broke down crying when he saw his mother quickly slap on makeup to be interviewed for the local news. It was such an ordinary ritual, but one he had missed more than he had imagined. She's something else, isn't she? In the midst of all the chaos, the phone rang. Everyone was busy, so Johnny answered the old-fashioned landline. Bueno, Johnny? It was his father, his voice trembling excitedly. Dad? Yes, son, it's me. Oh, God, I'm so glad you're okay. You scared the crap out of me, kid. I know. But we got Mom back, Dad. She's here right now, safe and sound. Andrea said she called and left a message for you. There was a pause. His father's breath came in ragged snatches. Yeah, I heard it. Can I talk to her? To your mother? Hang on, she's outside with a porter. Let me go get her. Johnny's mother rushed inside when he told her who was on the phone. After about 5 minutes, she hung up. He's on his way, his mother explained with a nervous smile. He had been getting an important sticker for his car to drive down. That's why he didn't answer at first. She was crying a little, and Johnny hugged her tightly. We're going to be together again, Mom. All of us. Don't cry. But that's why I'm crying, mijo. I'd almost lost hope that I'd see any of you again. It's a miracle, and these are tears of gratitude to the Virgin. Now, go on, get cleaned up. Your father will be here in 3 hours or so. He's going to take us to visit your grandmother's grave, and then we'll head home. Oscar Garza nearly swept his wife off her feet in the driveway when he arrived, dashing from the car and embracing her tightly. Johnny turned away as they kissed, more out of embarrassment than a desire to give them privacy, and then he and Carol hugged both of their parents. A few straggling photographers snapped away at their cameras, and the image of the reunited family, would appear the following day on the front page of El Norte. Retelling the cover story on the drive to Saltillo made Johnny feel horribly guilty. This is Dad, he thought to Carol. He's got a right to know the truth. Yeah, well, that's Mom's decision, Johnny. She'll tell him when the moment's right, I guess. He didn't argue with her, but his father's pointed questions made it obvious the man knew something wasn't quite right. Oscar Garza didn't push too hard, though. Johnny figured he was just too relieved to have his family back together to pursue his suspicions. Soon they were all four of them gathered around the gravestone of Elga Barron de Quintero, which stood right beside that of her husband Ramon. Johnny's mother laid a wreath of marigolds upon the freshly turned earth and ran her fingers gently across the inscription carved into the granite cross. Se alza como una leona. She rises like a lioness. Johnny couldn't take it anymore. Too many secrets, lies. That's Tezcatlipoca's way, not mine. He looked around carefully. The cemetery was empty of people. Dad, there's something important you need to know. What are you doing, Johnny? Carol's thoughts were stern, tinged with panic. He ignored her, stepped back from the grave, and shifted. Come on, Carol. You too, now. She sighed and dropped into her wolf form. Their father stumbled backward, bumping into his father-in-law's tombstone. Ah, como serán de tercos los dos, their mother muttered in irritation. Then she too morphed into a jaguar. The three Nahuales stood shoulder to shoulder, looking up at Oscar Garza. Unexpectedly, he smiled and gave a nervous laugh. Oh, well, that explains a lot, he said, reaching out to rub his shaking hand against the fur of each of them in turn. And it means I'm not crazy after all. Wow. Garza family, we've got some important things to talk about. The adventures of Johnny and Carol continue in A Kingdom Beneath the Waves. Garza Twins, Book 2. Thank you for listening. The end.